I want to begin my remarks with a disclaimer. Despite what you might hear, I am not comparing high school to our slavery in Egypt. I am, however, comparing graduation to the Exodus. And I repeat, high school was not Egypt. Okay, now we can start. When the Jews were ready to leave Egypt, Hashem told Moshe to tell the Jews to go and relieve the Egyptians of their gold and silver and take it all with them out of Egypt into freedom. Now, a curious mind might wonder, when we're poised to leave slavery, is it really worth it to stay a few more moments for a few more dollars? They'd been waiting 210 years to get out, and now that they can go, they're hanging around. Wouldn't the Jews have preferred to leave now, get out of Egypt now, and someone else take the gold and silver? But of course, the whole point of going to Egypt in the first place was to collect the sparks of holiness hidden there, the spiritual treasures they would uncover through their slavery. The gold and silver were physical symbols of those spiritual treasures. To leave them behind would be to leave the mission behind, and that could not happen. That same curious mind might wonder, why do high schools have graduation ceremonies? We finally completed our high school years and we're finally free to go. Why are we standing around delaying the inevitable? We've waited 12 years for this moment. Now that we can go, we're posing and speaking and dressing up and hanging around. Why don't we just leave? The curious mind might answer that it's similar to the Jews in Egypt. Why was our stay in Egypt extended a few more moments? Why do we extend our high school years a few more moments with these caps and photo ops? Because graduation is the treasure collection that takes place before we really leave. And it's not a luxury, it's essential. Because the whole point of years and years in school is a collection of treasures we leave with. And graduation is a chance to gather up those treasures. Now, I must admit that there were days and years and moments when I wouldn't have described school as gold or silver. Didn't always feel like an exhilarating treasure hunt. But then again, the Jews in Egypt also had no idea that they would leave with riches. Only in hindsight, once it ended, did they discover the treasures they had inherited through their slavery. And it's not until days like this, the waning days of your school career, that you look back and realize that the whole journey of schoolwork and homework and grades and friend drama, it was all a treasure hunt. It was all a treasure hunt. And without graduation, this evening of reflection, we're liable to leave all the treasures behind in our rush to get on with life. The Rebbe stressed that graduation is essentially less a store closing and more a grand opening. Graduation does mean something is ending, but primarily it means a new thing is starting. This is true for all of life's endings. Good things end only so that bigger and better good things can get started. It's true, all good things must come to an end, but only so that better things can begin. That is the meaning of graduation, and that is a priceless golden treasure. So we look back, we reminisce, we remember the many gems we learned, and we take it all with us. In this way, we leave laden in spiritual and emotional treasures, clarity, Jewish pride, great friends, and fond memories. We go our separate ways, but we go our separate ways together and not empty-handed. Thank you for coming.
Standing here at graduation, the word that captures how I feel is grateful. Hakarais hatayv, deep and overflowing appreciation to my teachers, my friends, my parents, and to my school, BHH. Gratitude takes time to be fully appreciated. There's a mitzvah that is all about gratitude, the mitzvah of Bikurim, the first fruits. It didn't start immediately upon entering Israel. Nope. They had to wait 14 years. Why such a long delay? Because true appreciation, which the mitzvah of Bikurim requires, takes time to be fully appreciated. You have to settle in, unpack, literally and figuratively, and genuinely understand what you have before you can fully express gratitude. I'm thankful that I've been given a chance to take some time and reflect on gratitude. 2.5 years ago, I was about to face a very lonely school year, quite literally the only student in my grade. That thought alone was overwhelming. Then Shayna Marcus mentioned an amazing place called Bader Hillel High. Even though I wasn't sure about moving to Milwaukee, I decided to visit. From the moment I walked into BHH, something clicked. The smiles on everyone's faces, the insightful classes, Mrs. Bassman making lemonade with her class, and Rabbi Lane bringing our class that day for Slurpees. I quickly knew this was exactly where I wanted to be. I'm thankful that on my first day, Mrs. Freeman calmed my nerves and warmly welcomed me, making sure I felt seen and included. I felt ready to be away from home and be in a big school. I'm also grateful I discovered a new level to what learning entails. I came to realize that learning was not only about the words, but also about understanding what they mean. My teachers always pushed me further to find relevance and meaning in what we were learning. Tanya opened my eyes to viewing life and the world around me through a different lens. Visiting home each break, I eagerly brought these insights home, often overwhelming my siblings, who probably wish I'd stop saying, "Oh, I learned that in BHH." I have a huge feeling of gratitude to the people at BHH. Friendships aren't limited by grades or which dorm you stay in. BHH students are a tight-knit family, every personality adding something unique and special. At BHH, the teaching Ezehu Chacham, Halamed Mikol Adam, who is wise, one who learns from everyone. It actually is true. I learned something from every person in this school. At BHH, we are blessed to have such an incredible, diverse group of girls. We are a perfect family. I've learned invaluable lessons from every single one of you, and each of us have helped each other grow. Standing here at my graduation, I clearly see how much I've grown. Initially relying heavily on my parents, I slowly built confidence, independence, and resilience, leading programs, taking on responsibilities, and learning purely because I wanted to. I want to express my Hakaris Hatayv to the incredible, caring, and supportive administration and teachers, Thank you for creating such an exceptional place to grow. To my amazing parents, your love and support carried me through every challenge and gave me strength when I needed it most. As you will see and hear tonight, Beder Hello High has given each of us so much to be grateful for. Thank you.
Chinuch, education. Chinuch isn't about filling our heads with endless facts, although we have had our fair share in those. It's about igniting that spark inside of us, the spark of curiosity, excitement, and a deep passion for learning Torah. At BHH, that spark became very real for me. One thing I vividly remember from 9th grade is when people were spreading rumors that there will be big changes in our school beginning next year. I panicked. Coming from a less typical background, I worried that what I love most about BHH might disappear. But the opposite happened. Instead of losing anything, I found that my experience had expanded. The acceptance, respect, and inclusivity we talked about so often suddenly became more real. I felt completely embraced. Not just parts of who I am, but all of me. My family, my story, my uniqueness. That's what a school that conveys real chinuch is. A school that helps you become the fullest version of yourself. At BHH, I learned that education isn't just about teachers giving you answers. It's about students discovering questions we didn't even know existed. A powerful moment for me was in our math class right before our AP exam. Rabbi Rechovel shared a pep talk from his wife, Mrs. Rechovel. She said that even though the AP topics she had studied were not related to her career, the preparation showed her what she could accomplish when she put her mind to it. Her words stuck with me. Our efforts always pay off, sometimes in unexpected ways. Since then, which was just about a month ago, I have already applied this lesson to so many things. Another illuminating chinuch moment was when I was passionately advising some freshies earlier this year. Probably more passionately than they wanted, saying something I had learned in Tanya class that had really resonated with me. Suddenly, it hit me. The values and ideas I was sharing weren't just something I'd memorized from teachers or textbooks. They had truly become my own, expressed confidently in my voice. That moment made me realize just how deeply the chinuch at BHH had shaped me. It's one thing to hear something repeatedly, it's another to live it and speak it as your truth. There's a beautiful lesson in this week's Parsha, Parshas Baal Laischa, that powerfully captures this idea of chinuch. Baal Laischa es haneres, when you kindle the lamps. But why does it use the word Baal Laischa? To ascend and not to kindle. Rashi teaches us, shetzarech lahadlik ad shetehei shel haves me'eleha, that you need to kindle the lamp until the flame rises on its own. Lighting the menorah was not just about igniting the flame, but about elevating it, both the lights and the one lighting. We see that the Torah emphasizes the importance of igniting a flame in a way that it continues to burn independently, even after the one who lights it steps away. That captures exactly what authentic chinuch feels like at BHH. My teachers weren't just lighting my path temporarily, shooting up a flare that would dazzle for just a few moments. They ignited within me the ability and confidence to carry my flame forward independently. Today, as we graduate, let's proudly carry these flames forward. Let's illuminate our paths, inspire others, and continue asking questions that matter. Each of us has our unique flame, sparked and nurtured right here at BHH. I can't wait to see how brightly we all shine wherever life takes us.
As I stand here, I'm not just celebrating a graduation. I'm celebrating a journey that began with a dream and led me to discover who I truly am. Back in 10th grade, I had a dream to grow in my Yiddishkeit. But in my hometown, that dream felt out of reach. Vancouver has a small Jewish community and even fewer observant families. As schools closed and friends moved away, I found myself in a secular environment that felt isolating and hollow. The Torah I loved felt like history. Mitzvos felt like rules, and the world around me didn't seem to care. But I did. I knew I needed more. I needed a place where Torah wasn't just studied, it was lived. Where Shabbos wasn't something I explained or celebrated in isolation, but something I shared. That place I would come to learn was Beitar Hillel High. I'll never forget a powerful yet confusing conversation with my shlucha, Tamara. She said, "Chaya, there's no escaping the Rebbe. The Rebbe handpicks his Hasidim, and he chose you." At the time, I didn't understand what that meant, but soon I would. At BHH, I was introduced to Hasidus. No longer was Torah ancient or distant. It was alive, personal, relevant. I learned that every mitzvah we do brings real light into the world. That we're not just obeying, we're transforming. I remember sitting in class when Rabbi Shmutkin asked, "How did the Rebbe impact you?" At first, I didn't have an answer, but the question lingered. As I continued to learn, I began to see how deeply Hasidus had already shaped my life. It was like oil, quietly seeping in, leaving its shine on everything it touched. The way I thought, the way I made choices, the very journey that brought me here was all permeated by Hasidus. Today, when I say I'm a Chassid, I say it with pride. It means I don't walk alone. It means I've accepted the mission to elevate the world, to build a Dira B'Tochtonim, to bring Mashiach closer by choosing kindness, meaning, and purpose every single day. To my teachers, you didn't just teach me, you shaped me. You saw beyond the limits I placed on myself and helped me break through them. To the administration, thank you for building an environment where a girl from Vancouver could find a home in Milwaukee. And to my classmates, thank you for walking this journey with me, for the laughter, the inspiration, and the friendships I'll carry with me forever. I would like to conclude by thanking an incredibly special person, my mother. Thank you for believing in me, even when this dream felt so far away. When I felt unsure, you reminded me who I was. When things felt too hard, you reminded me who was guiding me. You didn't just teach me to trust in Hashem. You showed me how, by living it every day. You've been there through every step of this journey, cheering me on, lifting me up, being my safe place to fall. Everything I've become is rooted in everything you've given. Now, my dream has changed, from becoming to building, from receiving light to being a source of it, of bringing the light I've discovered here into every corner of the world, of living every day with the clarity, purpose, and passion that Beitar Hillel High helped me discover. Thank you.
From a young age, I felt a deep connection to Hashem, and I knew I wanted to live with that connection guiding me. Growing up in Knoxville, Tennessee, I was lucky to have a thriving Jewish day school, but only through 5th grade. After that, there were no more local options for Jewish education. So I tried a secular private school, but it didn't give me what my heart truly needed. I told my parents I needed more, and that's how I ended up in Jewish online school. It was a start, but 2 years passed quickly. 8th grade rolled around, and I heard about Beitar Hillel High in Milwaukee. I'd never heard of Milwaukee, let alone thought about moving there. But I came. I remember my first day walking through the doors of BHH and being greeted with a red carpet. I was expected to strut down it with my best dance moves, but I was thinking absolutely not. I awkwardly sidestepped past everyone, and later that morning, after a delicious breakfast that Mrs. Freeman had prepared, I stepped out for a minute. And when I came back to an empty room. I was completely lost in a 3-room building. I didn't even know who was in my class yet. But somewhere between that moment and this one, everything changed. BHH gave me gifts I didn't even know I needed. The gift of deep, unshakable friendships. Teachers who not only taught with passion, but lived their lessons. Role models who believed in me before I believed in myself. And perhaps most importantly, BHH gave me Torah, not just in the academic sense, but as a way of life. I was introduced to a sefer called Shar HaBitachon, the Gate of Trust. At first, I honestly didn't know what trust in Hashem really meant. Mushki and I just decided one day to learn it together, and now we're on our 3rd round, each time going deeper. I've learned that bitachon isn't just a comforting phrase. It's a mindset, a daily effort. It's a complete surrender to Hashem's plans. It means knowing that nothing is too big for Hashem. And even maybe if I'm not worthy, if I truly trust in Him, He'll be there. I didn't just learn this in a class. I had to live it. Last year, I ended up in the hospital. I couldn't walk. I didn't know when or if I'd get better. I felt helpless. And that was the hardest part, the total loss of control. But that's exactly when Shar HaBitachon came alive for me. I had no choice but to let go and trust. I repeated the lessons to myself over and over again. I leaned into the idea of hashgacha pratis, that every detail is from Hashem, purposeful and good. And even when I couldn't see how. And the love I got from BHH during that time, it was unmatched. When I came back, it wasn't just business as usual. My bitachon was nurtured and strengthened, not only in the classes, but through every hallway conversation, every moment of patience, every teacher who saw me and supported me. I wasn't just being taught, I was being built. Over these 4 years, I've become someone I never imagined I could be. More confident, more clear in my values, more connected to Hashem. I used to be afraid to speak up, to share my thoughts. Now I walk with certainty in who I am. Because of BHH, I never gave up. Because I wasn't alone. I had teachers who created a space where I felt known, I had friends who danced down red carpets, even when I didn't, and walked beside me on far harder paths. As I move forward, I'm taking with me the lessons, the love, and the certainty that I am a proud Jew. I am someone who lives with bitachon. I'm someone who knows who I am and whose I am. Thank you, BHH, for seeing me, for shaping me, and for sending me out into the world with more than just knowledge, both trust, strength, and pride.
There's a lot we learned over the past few years. Some of it in classrooms, and some of it, well, not exactly. We were tested on Chumash, Navi, history, math, and sometimes on how fast we could find a last-minute speaker for a school-wide event starting in 10 minutes. But the things that actually shaped us, the ones that will stick long after the tests are forgotten, they weren't on the syllabus. There was no worksheet titled, "What to do when your classroom gets relocated halfway through the day again." No slideshow on how to lead a fundraiser, plan an event, or host a panel just because someone asked, "Can you take care of that?" And we responded, sure. And definitely no training in how to stay grounded and real in a world that constantly pushes you to perform. But we learned all of that and much more. We learned it in the chaos, in the small, unfinished, very real moments that weren't scripted. In other schools, everything might run perfectly. At Bader Hill High, we learned to lead in the midst of imperfection. And that's what makes this place different. Because BHH doesn't just educate your mind, it stretches your heart. It demands something honest from you, and it gives you something honest in return. At BHH, no one fakes it. The teachers mean what they say and expect you to mean it too. They don't just prepare you for college or a career. They prepare you to ask, what does Hashem want from me? What kind of person am I becoming? That kind of education, real education, isn't about knowledge. It's about truth. And truth is demanding. It forces you to show up, not just as a student, but as a person. It's in that spirit that we had the hard conversations, that we stayed up until 3 a.m. in Budapest, being honest about what we struggle with, that we circled around at a Shabbos table and spoke about where we'd come from and where we were going, that we opened up in soul talks, not because we had to, but because we trusted each other enough to try. We didn't always get it right. We weren't always put together or polished, but we were real. And in a world that's increasingly curated, filtered, and performative, that's not a small thing. It's everything. That's what makes Bader Hillel High matter. It's what makes this class matter. Because that same honesty, that same wholeness, it's in the girls I'm graduating with. In Shayna B, who's always steady, willing, the quiet strength behind so many things that worked. Shayna B, whose wit, timing, and boldness reminded us to speak truth without fear. Shayna F, bold, unfiltered, sometimes loud, yet always searching. There's a raw honesty in her questions and a kind of courage in the way she refuses to pretend. Shayna M, who brought beauty into everything she touched, not for recognition, but because it was worth doing well. Mushki, who brings calm energy and kindness, never judging, even when she totally could. Muka, who added immeasurably just by being there, showing up, listening, offering real insight without needing a spotlight. Yafa, who somehow managed 1,000 responsibilities and still made time for us to laugh. Chaya, who stayed rooted, never compromising on what she knew was right. Sarah, who didn't just learn Torah, she applied it. She made it part of how she lived every day. Each of them, each of us, became something more than just classmates. We became a family. A loud, sometimes messy, always running late, slightly dysfunctional family. But that's what makes a family real. And to those who will be here next year, don't wait for things to be neat or perfect. This place was never meant to be that, but it was meant to be real. And that's what will change you. Be honest, be kind, show up for your friends at 2 a.m. when they need you. Ask hard questions, give real answers. Don't just take classes, take responsibility. Don't just learn Torah, live it. Because Beitar Hillel High isn't a polished product, it's a process. And if you let it, it will refine you. Thank you, Beitar Hillel High, for the classes, yes, but even more for the space to struggle, grow, and become someone real.
Good afternoon, fellow graduates, teachers, friends, and family. Growing up in the Binkin home was a real trip. There are 11 of us, 8 brothers, 2 sisters, and then me, Shayna, somewhere in the middle. Often just trying to keep up. Our house was loud, wild, and definitely full of life. But there wasn't much room to figure out who I was, as a Jewish girl trying to find her place. School didn't help. In fact, it made things worse. It was a place where I felt smaller, overlooked. Teachers barely looked my way, rarely asked what I thought, and slowly, painfully, I stopped believing that my voice mattered. The girl you see today, who speaks up and stands tall, she was buried under many years of silence and doubt. One summer, something changed. I went to CGI Poconos. For the first time, I felt seen, really seen. The staff welcomed me as not just another face, but as someone whose questions mattered. My head counselor, a former BHH alumni, now famous with 75,000 followers, Chana Bassman, told me about this school she believed was perfect for me. For a moment, I even dared to dream. But then, when 8th grade started, that dream felt impossible. Leaving home for high school wasn't practical. I thought maybe I never find my place. And then Sarah came into my life. Sarah Skirke, a true BHH OG, who had walked the one hall I longed to walk. Little did I know there wasn't going to be any halls. And soon she agreed to marry my brother. Sarah brought Beitar Hillel High back into my life. And with her support, she made it real for me. I'll never forget that first day. We rolled up in a big white van, And suddenly, there was a red carpet, music, dancing, and people cheering. Bader Hill High was different. The teachers cared. The girls supported each other. I felt so blessed to be in this school. One day, in my freshman year, a teacher asked me a question that really shook me. He said, "Why are you religious?" The room went silent. I had no answer. I felt exposed, embarrassed, even angry. I did what any self-respecting teenager would do. I avoided that teacher for months. But that question haunted me. It made me cry. But it also began to wash away the old Shayna, making room for someone new. Since then, I started writing down every question I had about Judaism, about life, about myself. Slowly, answers began to appear. Slowly, I began to rebuild. At BHH, I wasn't just learning Chumash or Halacha, math, or science. I was also discovering who I was as a student, person, and especially as a Jew. I walked in unsure, afraid, often covered up with being loud. But I found a school where girls weren't just classmates. They were sisters. They laughed with me, let me be myself, and sometimes would cheer me on or tell me when it's time to get it together. They gave me space to be honest, to be curious, and to grow. At BHH, I was surrounded by girls just like me, girls who wanted to go deeper. It helped me realize that being a Jewish girl isn't just about tradition. It's about leadership. It's about discovering and realizing our purpose. It's about owning who you are, and each and every day taking steps closer to who you're meant to be. The Torah gave me that foundation, and Bader Hillel High told me how to build on it. And now, 4 years later, I can say with pride, I am Shayna Miriam Bankin. I'm a Chabad Jewish girl, and yes, I know why I'm religious. Because being religious isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, growing, asking, becoming. It's about owning my story, even the messy parts, and taking more and more steps in the direction of mission and purpose. To my parents, Mommy and Tati, thank you for believing me and growing alongside me. To my siblings, all 10 of you, and my nephew Chesky, thank you for being my loud, wonderful, one-of-a-kind tribe. So Mazel Tov, to the class of 2025, let's go out there and change the world, one mitzvah, one question, and one better version of ourselves at a time. Thank you.
Makes a person holy? Is it how much Torah they know? How many mitzvos they do? Or maybe it's the length of their beard. These things count. They matter. But is that all that matters? A chassid is a mahalich. A chassid is always moving. It's not as much where you are, but that you're moving, step by step, in the right direction. Where were you yesterday? Have you grown since then? Even in a way so small, no one else can see the progress but you. That's what truly matters. For a long time, I wasn't climbing. I looked at myself and saw ideas that didn't fit, and a fire that didn't yearn for something higher. I thought that if I didn't feel it, I couldn't do it. I couldn't be it. That would be lying to myself and everyone around me. So, I didn't. I left things behind in my Judaism, one thing after another. First, it was what I listened to, watched, and read. Then it became how I dressed and how I acted. It wasn't until 11th grade that anything changed. At the start of the year, the Achos program was introduced, a program centered around personal growth in baby steps, a little higher each day. I chose to wear a skirt at the gym. I think that decision lasted a day, if that. The problem remained. I didn't feel it. Once October 7th happened, things shifted. We began taking on things in the merit of the safety and security of our brothers and sisters in Israel. That was something I could do. I could do it for my people. I recommitted to a skirt. That was the first time I realized I could take the step, do the action, with no goal for what the future might hold or where I might end up. Just one tiny step in the right direction. That one step became 2 and then 3. I started listening to Jewish music. Shout out to Nissim Black, who I listened to on repeat every day until I had to take a break. Sorry, Nissim, and thank you. And then davening outside school, saying chitas, and learning with Mushka Hecht every Shabbos, which I love so, so much. As I made these choices, I slowly began to feel the spark and realized I wanted to change, to grow. I want to build my connection to Hashem. This year, I got the privilege of co-leading Achos with my fellow graduate, Sarah Zemmel. I got to witness and help other girls take that step, change one little thing with no end goal, just the intention of moving forward, doing better. Growth does not happen when focused on the big picture, the masterpiece you're trying to create. It's about the tiny brush strokes. And sometimes those brush strokes go a little outside the lines. It's called modern art. It's about putting in the effort to work a little harder, aim a little higher every single day. I am standing here today only through the unwavering support of my parents. Thank you, Mommy and Tati. And a special shout out to my siblings for making this journey so crazy, fun, and more crazy. I love you guys. And most of all, thank you, Hashem, for believing in me. Modeh ani lefanecha, for giving me the chance every day to start afresh and do better. Thank you.
Interview, I was asked what seemed like a simple question. Do you like new beginnings? My mind immediately went to my first year at Beitar Hillel High. That beginning was anything but easy. I walked through those doors, not knowing a single person, feeling overwhelmed and out of place. To make things harder, due to family celebrations, I was in and out so much at the start. But despite all that, something felt different about BHH, even before I ever stepped foot in the building. For my very first Zoom meeting with Mrs. Friedman, I sensed it. And my parents kept reminding me, this experience will push you to grow. Just keep an open mind. It turns out they were right. I still remember the welcome back hug I got from Shana Brownstein after missing the first 5 days of school. That small moment, that welcome, made all the difference. Slowly but surely, the fear and discomfort turned into confidence and connection. So what was it that made this school stand out from the beginning? It was clear. BHH sees each student not just as part of a system, but as someone valued for who they are and empowers them towards who they can become. At the beginning of my first year, I was part of a class that extended learning after school, a chance to delve deeper into concepts of Hasidus. It was exciting, it was practical, and it was exhausting. On those days, we came home at 5:30 p.m. When the dorm counselors saw how drained we were, Mrs. Freeman didn't just acknowledge it, she immediately adjusted the schedule for the learning to take place at a different time. That moment really struck me. This school doesn't just say it cares, it actually listens. And then came the programs, where learning felt alive. I've had the privilege to help organize some of them, especially through Yom Tif programming and Alchos, a program designed for growth and accountability. One day, half jokingly, I threw out the idea, could we make an app? 2 days later, Mrs. Freeman told me she'd already found an app developer. That moment also stayed with me, because here, my creativity wasn't just accepted, it was encouraged. But perhaps the biggest push to grow came from something much deeper, the people. We come from such different places, in background, observance, perspective, and yet what started as discomfort turned into something I would never trade. Real friendships, honest questions, and deep reflection. When you're surrounded by people who challenge your worldview, not aggressively, but with genuine curiosity, you start asking yourself things like, wait, why do I do that? We all learned something powerful. The more curious and open we were, the more similar we discovered we truly are. And yes, it was hard. But I've come to realize growth is supposed to feel uncomfortable. In Hasidus, there's a concept called Yerida L'Tzarech Aliyah, a descent that's actually for the sake of a higher ascent. That's what beginnings are. They look like chaos. They feel like setbacks, but they are the starting points for something greater. When I came to BHH, I was shy, quiet, and unsure. Today, I stand here confident, resilient, and deeply aware of my strengths and abilities. So do I like new beginnings? My honest response to the seminary was, who likes new beginnings? They're uncomfortable, challenging, and daunting. But here's what I've learned. Nothing truly worthwhile comes easily. Without embracing the discomfort of new beginnings, I wouldn't be standing here today. The warmth, the support, the freedom to create and grow, these are the things that define Beitar Hillel High. And they're the things I'll carry into every new beginning. To my fellow graduates, next year will be a beginning unlike any we've experienced. But if there's one thing I've learned from BHH, it's that we can do it and we can thrive. Most importantly, thank you to my parents. Thank you for being the greatest role models out there, supporting and guiding me through everything. I couldn't have done anything without you. Thank you.
May 10th, 2024. Exactly 13 months ago was just another ordinary day. For some people, a date carries memories. For others, it's a square on the calendar. For me, May 10th didn't mean anything special. I was sitting in public school, watching the hours crawl by, hoping to make it through the day without asking to leave early. That alone felt like an accomplishment. Looking back, those days felt like a blur, like I was drifting. I was doing the things I was supposed to be doing. Sports, school, going through the motions. But I knew I needed something more. I just didn't know what. I tried to fill the space with softball, with sports, and with friends. But something inside of me was pulling me towards a different kind of life. If you would have told me back then that in just over a year, I'd be standing here, graduating from a Jewish school, surrounded by the kind of community I used to only dream of, I would have laughed, or maybe even cried, because I wanted it, but I didn't think it was possible. "13 months ago, I hadn't even applied to BHH. If you would have asked me then where I thought I'd be now, I never would have said graduating from a Jewish school. But that's the power of one decision. Applying to BHH felt like jumping off a cliff. I was going into 12th grade already. Who changes schools then? I didn't think I'd get in. I didn't know if I'd fit in. And truthfully, I didn't know I wanted in. But then, Hashem showed up in the most unexpected, hilarious, hashgacha practice kinds of ways. Mrs. Wise appeared in camp just a day after I was accepted. The final push. Shortly before that, a few former BHA students wouldn't stop raving to the school. Still, that first day, terrifying. Everyone seemed to already know each other. Everything was so different. I remember thinking, this is school? We dove into the morning. People cared about each other. It didn't feel real. Yet with all of this excitement, I still wasn't sure this was my place. But slowly, I started to feel it. The warmth, the welcome, the belonging, things that used to make me stand out in public school, like dressing sneas or handing out Shabbos candles, were normal life here. I wasn't alone anymore. In the 1960s, a group of college students visited the Lubavitcher Rebbe. One asked, "We are not religious Jews. We do not keep Shabbos, follow the kosher dietary laws. Tell me, Rebbe, are we good Jews?" The Rebbe answered with the story of Yaakov's dream. Yaakov saw a ladder stretching from heaven to earth, with angels going up and down. The Rebbe explained, some people start high up on the ladder because of their background, but may descend. Others begin lower, but climb steadily upward. What matters is not where you start, but whether you're climbing. And this year, I climbed. I climbed through moments of doubt when I missed home and felt unsupported. I climbed with my friends who made me feel whole. I climbed through the questions, the struggles, the late night talks that filled me up like nothing else could. I climbed through learning with teachers who not only taught me, but taught me how to think, how to dive deeper, and how to learn the deeper context to what something truly means. I climbed to the support of my parents who said yes to something hard and unfamiliar because they believed in me. I climbed with the inspiration of teachers and friends, and I only plan to keep climbing. So here, in this letter, dated May 10th, 2024, I would say to myself, you have no idea how much your life is going to change. You have no fast things are going to move, or how much purpose and meaning you are going to find. Don't be afraid. Keep climbing.
Good evening. On behalf of the senior class, I'd like to warmly welcome everyone to the Bader Hillel High graduation. Class of 2025, 5785. First, a huge thank you to all the amazing Bader Hillel High students and staff who guided and supported us throughout our journeys here. And to our family and friends who stood by us and traveled near and far to celebrate this special moment with us today. We truly could not have done it without you. Wow, it's incredible. We actually made it. Reflecting on our time at Hillel High, we survived all the tests, endless Socratic seminars, countless adventures in broken vans, and yes, even that unfortunate day, the school proudly introduced us to deep-fried hot dogs. We survived that too. Now that I graduated, I finally get to say this. It's no secret that I didn't like school. When I was asked to write the speech, I started by trying to think of a good memory from Hillel High, but my thoughts started to drift towards my middle and early high school years spent at a large public school. I realized I couldn't think of even one good memory from there. But when it comes to my 2 years at Bader Hillel High, there are so many great memories, it's hard to choose just one. From volunteering to prepare and deliver food to elderly members of our Jewish community, or becoming the dreidel mascot at the Hanukkah Geltrop. Running my pop-up pancake and waffle bars, or simply laughing and hanging out with my classmates. I didn't know it was possible to have fun in school before coming here. Before coming to Hillel High, at school, I felt alone, like I was just a name on a list or a number in the system. I didn't feel seen or valued. I knew I needed a change. So, I decided to shadow Hillel High. What I found here was exactly what I was looking for. It's not just a school, it is a community where every teacher and staff member genuinely cares about each student, not just academically, but personally. Here, the teachers don't just lecture, they connect, inspire, and support you. So, I decided to switch schools for those reasons. And the Judaic aspect was just a small bonus. Before joining Hillel High, I was still a religious Jew. I would keep kosher and Shabbos, but I wasn't wearing a kippah or tzitzit. I wasn't interested in learning Torah, and you would never find me in a shul. But soon, something began to shift. I started wearing a kippah and tzitzit. Although Torah learning still felt difficult. I wasn't interested, and I would just sleep in class. The staff quickly identified that I was struggling. So they decided to put me in a smaller, more personalized class taught by Rabbi Wise. Here, they identified my problem. It was not that I didn't care, but that I was so far behind. With Rabbi Wise's personalized teaching style, I learned to read and translate Parshas Lech Lecha. Gaining confidence and eventually discovering my love for Torah learning, and I'm now davening 3 times a day and getting about 5 calls and text messages daily from different rabbis asking me to help make a minyan. And yes, Rabbi Darren, I can come tonight. This year, I advanced to higher level classes, including my first ever Gemara class, where I learned with my chavrusa, dorm counselor Meir Levy. In this class, I found myself doing something I did all the time in school, looking at the clock. However, this time, I found myself disappointed as I saw the minutes go by. My experience at Hillel High truly ignited my passion for davening and Torah learning. Because of my time here, I've decided to spend next year at Yeshiva Torah Ve'avoda in Jerusalem. There, I hope to deepen my avodas Hashem with advanced Torah learning, an opportunity that would have been unimaginable without my incredible experience at Bader Hillel High. Thank you to every teacher who challenged and encouraged me every single day. Thank you to my amazing classmates who made coming to school something I genuinely looked forward to. And most importantly, thank you to my parents. Standing up here today is not something I always thought possible, but you did. Every morning, you pushed me out of bed and motivated me with your signature phrase. You don't have to do good, you just need to pass. Thank you.
Tonight, as I stand here, I can't help but think back to the day I left my home in sunny Florida to come to Beta Hill High. If I'm being honest, I was not expecting to almost freeze. But now, 3 years later, not only did I survive the cold, I've grown in ways I never imagined possible. In my Judaism, my learning, and as a person. When I first arrived at BHH, I didn't know how to learn Mishnah, Chumash, or Gemara. I never thought I'd be able to open up a sefer and learn on my own, or what the Chabur said. But thanks to my amazing teachers and my awesome friends, I can now study all of these texts, and it's helped me build a much stronger connection with Hashem and living a Jewish life. I grew a lot when it came to history, English, and math. Each and every teacher were experts in those subjects. Yet more important to me was how much they cared for each of the students. It didn't matter what level you start at. What matters is how much effort you put in it. Today, I have skills, knowledge, and habits that will last me a lifetime. I can write essays, do science experiments, and even code websites. In case you were worried that all we did was work and study, you can be sure that at BHH, we had so many opportunities for the most amazing and fun experiences. One of my favorite memories was our Shabbaton in New York. That Shabbos was awesome. It was filled with singing, delicious food, and great company, followed by an incredible trip. It really brought us closer together as a group and as friends. At BHH, learning didn't just happen in the classroom. We had amazing opportunities to learn about different careers from inspiring members of our community. We even visited a private airport, learned about airplanes, and we got to go flying one. One of my favorite projects was when my senior class made soup from scratch and delivered it to low-income homes. We talked with the families and made a lot of people smile. Looking ahead, I hope to get a job in IT to have a lifelong learning of Torah and continue building my relationship with Hashem. I want to live a vibrant Jewish life, be a part of a community, and give back. Thank you to my teachers for helping me grow so much, my friends and family for supporting me on this journey. Mom, you can stop paying attention now. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for being there every step of the way and for supporting me and for believing in me. Thank you, BHH, for helping me become the person I am today. Mazel Tov, class of 2025.
Good evening, everyone. Graduation speeches are usually full of deep wisdom and life lessons. So naturally, I asked ChatGPT how to sound wise. Step 1, start with a quote. Step 2, say it slowly. Step 3, hope nobody notices it was from a Marvel movie. I chose to run towards my problems, not away from them, because that's what heroes do. Today, I stand here proud to graduate, but even more proud of the man I've become. Who is Matan today? I'd say I'm Jewish and proud. Even before BHH, I tried to be kind and helpful. I was respectful to others and a lover of music. But now there's something deeper. I've grown, I've matured, I've connected to my soul and to who I truly want to be. A few years ago, I was in a very different school, a public high school with over 1,800 students in Santa Clara, California. I truly didn't feel like I belonged. The bullying, the peer pressure, the things people laughed at or looked up to, it all felt wrong. I knew I didn't fit in, but I didn't know how things could ever be different. Enter Camp Lamana Chai. And I walked into a miraculous world. The people around me had a real contagious joy. I connected so deeply with the music and the singing. My favorite part of the week was Kabbalat Shabbat. Dancing on the benches, singing with all our strength. It wasn't just fun, it was powerful. That was when I realized being Jewish wasn't just my background or why I had to go to Hebrew school. Yahudut was something I am. It was who I wanted to be. At Lamana Chai, I realized there was a place I could belong, a place where I could grow into the person I was meant to be. That place was Beitar Hillel High. This school became more than a school. It became a second home, a family, a place where I could grow and believe in myself. When life got hard, and it did, BHH was there. The summer before junior year, my family went through a major change. It was a sad and painful time, and I even wondered whether I should even come back. I felt like the floor beneath me had fallen. But when I returned to BHH, I found something solid to stand on. Friends who cared, teachers who listened, and a community that reminded me I wasn't alone. And no, not every day was easy, but I am so grateful that those hard days were here at BHH and not anywhere else. At BHH, I learned how to rap tefillin, how to pray meaningfully, how to keep kosher, how to truly experience Shabbat. These aren't just things I learned. They're part of who I am today. Ima, thank you for your endless love and support, and for always reminding me to bring a jacket, no matter the season, the forecast, or how hot it actually was. Seriously, you might be the only person who can feel cold in July inside a heated building while holding a cup of hot green tea. But your warmth, your love, that's what truly holds our family together, even while you're still looking for the perfect sweater. Abba, thank you for your steady guidance and for always believing in me. From helping me with late night homework, even when neither of us really understood the math, to your pep talks before tests, to showing me what it means to work hard and live with integrity. You've been my role model every step of the way. As I realize, graduating is a little like Shabbat prep. It takes time, effort, some stress, a few moments of panic, and maybe one Kugel disaster. But in the end, you sit back, breathe in, and realize it was all worth it. So, who is Matan today? I am proud to be a Jew. I am proud to be a graduate of Beitar Hillel High. I am proud to continue my journey to Yeshiva University. And I am proud of the journey that brought me here. Thank you all, and Mazal Tov.
Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Yasha Moldavsky, and I'm the smiling, handsome mensch standing before you. It is an incredible honor to be standing here graduating tonight, with so much gratitude for my friends, my family, my teachers, and of course, this amazing school. To be honest, school hasn't always been easy for me. For most of my life, it felt like a battle. I became an expert in excuses and creative arguments for why the bare minimum should be more than enough. Let's just say, my smile has gotten me pretty far. If you would have seen me back in public school, you would have seen a kid wearing headphones blasting music. It was my signature look, but something changed at Beitar Hillel High. This school and the people in it taught me something powerful. I am not dyslexic. That label doesn't define me. It doesn't limit what I could do or who I can become. But I was limited, or so I thought. But my teachers didn't let me stay in that mindset for long. They went full throttle. They pushed me, encouraged me, challenged me. They weren't buying my excuses, no matter how charming. That belief they had in me, the way they held me to a higher standard, is something I will carry with me forever. I want to give a thank you to two people, Miss Hat and Papa Coach. You were not only my teachers, you were my coaches and academic partners. Because of you, I stopped running from what I felt impossible and started discovering what I could do, what I was good at, like memorization and listening for information. These were gifts I didn't even know I had. To be up here talking about my academics achievements is honestly kind of wild and awesome. And it wasn't just the academics. At Beitar Hillel, I discovered my social strengths. No longer the kid hiding behind headphones all day. I built crazy, awesome, unforgettable friendships that I know will last a lifetime. With the foundation I've built here at BHH, I know my future is bright. I plan to continue growing closer to Hashem through davening, Torah, and mitzvahs. After an amazing year of learning in Israel, I hope to begin the next chapter of my life. Wherever life takes me, I know one thing for sure. Deep in my neshama, I feel Hashem guiding me always. To my twin, Sheva, my other half, your love and support means everything to me. I'm so grateful we got to walk through life together. I love you so much. And now, Mom and Dad, you are the best. You've been there for me every step of the way, cheering me on, believing in me, and supporting me through all the highs and lows. Even when I became adult-sized and a little harder to deal with, you stayed steady and strong. You are my rock. I love you so much, and I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you all. Mazel tov for the class of 2024.
I stand before you today, not just as a student graduating from Bader Hill High School, but as someone who in his short life has traveled a long, winding path to get here. For me, that path started in Indianapolis, Indiana. We moved. I changed schools. Some schools wanted me to come to be their student, and some I heard they have asked me not to come back. I often felt out of place, bullied, ignored, but I never stopped being me. Sure, there were bright spots, birthday parties, meeting new cousins, visits from family overseas, and of course, video games. Whether it was Fortnite or 2K, they gave me an escape. Through all this, I struggled with school, with basketball, with finding where I belong. I got cut from teams, I made mistakes, I felt alone. But with every setback, there was something inside me that kept me fighting back. To quote Papa Coach, everyone gets knocked down. It's the ones who get back up that have a chance and have the character of a winner. That willingness to keep fighting and learning took me from rejection and failure to eventually becoming a starter and co-captain on the Bader Hill High basketball team. I found my way in school. I started to show up early, asking questions, also improved my grades. And volunteering in our community. I've learned that life doesn't always go the way you plan. I didn't get into every school I wanted. I didn't help win every game I played, but I kept showing up. I kept moving forward, better bit by bit, day by day. If you ever feel lost, like you don't belong, or like your story doesn't fit the mold, remember my story. It's messy, it's real, and it led me right here to my Bader Hill High School graduation, standing with you, proud and ready for what comes next. Thank you to all my teachers, including Reb Avner, Mrs. Hatt, Papa Coach, Mr. Scheuer, and the rest of the team who inspired and motivated me. To Mommy, Abba, and my family, who are my rocks full of hope, love, and care. Without you, I could never have made it to this night of joy, simcha, and celebration. You never gave up on me, even when I wanted to give up on myself. Class of 2025, we made it. Not perfectly, not easily, but we made it, and that's more than enough. L'chaim!
If you look at me today, you probably see an observant Jew who can read Hebrew fluently, lead davening confidently, and translate Chumash with understanding and pride. But if you had met me a few years ago, you'd see someone quite different. I wasn't raised Jewish.
I only converted to Judaism just over 4 years ago. But my journey started long before that, with questions, with discomfort, and with a deep yearning for a real connection to Hashem. As a child, I began to notice mistranslations in the Christian Bible, verses that didn't sit right with me. I didn't want to connect to God through man. I wanted to connect directly to Hashem. That quiet, stubborn spark led me somewhere I never would have expected, to the Jewish people. One of the most meaningful memories that I recall from before my childhood is sitting with my parents each Friday night, learning the Parsha. Those moments gave me something I couldn't explain then, but I understand now. They planted a spark. By the end of 6th grade, I asked my parents to send me to a Jewish school. I joined Beitar Hillel Academy for 7th and 8th grade. With no background, it was overwhelming, but also exhilarating. When I came to Beitar Hillel High, that spark had a place to grow into a flame. At first, I learned slowly. I focused on the messages in Chumash more than the translation. Then, one day, Rabbi Yaffe invited me to join a new Chumash class, one with more advanced learning. He told me he believed I was ready for more of a challenge. 2 years later, I was translating Chumash fluently and understanding Hebrew with depth and confidence. I especially loved learning Hebrew grammar because it helped me fully understand why the Jewish people are sometimes referred to as he in the singular form, and how that disproves the claims I'd grown up hearing. This year, I was challenged academically in so many classes. In social studies, I was encouraged to complete an independent study and presented to my class a 45-minute research project about US submarines and German U-boats. I also spent countless hours in AP Pre-Calculus class with extensive homework, preparing myself for a 2.5-hour exam. But this wasn't just about academics. Something internal was shifting. Slowly, my Judaism stopped being something that others imposed on me and became something that I owned. I no longer felt like I was just learning Torah. I was living it. I started to feel like I belonged. I struggled too. As a teenager, davening every morning wasn't always easy, but it was those moments when I didn't show up the way I wanted to that taught me how much I truly care. Missing something made it even clearer to me how deeply I want it. When I shared parts of my story with other students, it inspired them to grow in their own Yiddishkeit. And that showed me, even the smallest flame can light up someone else's darkness. And this idea, the power of one flame, is what Parshas Ba'aleischa is all about. The Parsha begins with Aaron lighting the menorah. But the Torah doesn't say, light the lamps. It says, Ba'aleischa, when you raise them up. The commentaries explain that Aaron had to hold the flame there until the wick could ignite and rise on its own. that's not just how you light a lamp. That's how you light a person, a soul. My teachers didn't just give me knowledge. They believed in me. They guided me until my flame could burn on its own. But that's not the full story of our Parsha. Right after that uplifting scene with the lighting of the menorah, the Parsha turns dark. The Jewish people begin to complain, to doubt, to resist, to rebel. The optimism fades quickly. Why? It seems like the light of the menorah fades so quickly. But in truth, that's how real growth works. Once you take ownership, the struggle begins. The flame is tested. It needs to withstand the wind. It needs to decide if it wants to keep burning. And sometimes, what looks like rebellion is actually a cry for something deeper. The Jewish people weren't just complaining. They were desperate for a more meaningful relationship with Hashem. And sometimes, so was I. My own spiritual resistance became the very thing that pushed me to discover what I truly believed in. Now, as I look ahead to the next step of my journey, learning at the Rabbinical College of America in Morristown, New Jersey, I know the work continues. I'm excited to learn more deeply, to challenge myself, and to keep growing. Of course, I'm a little nervous, but I carry with me a flame that was nurtured, strengthened, and made my own right here at BHH. I want to thank all the incredible people of BHH for creating an environment where students like me can thrive. And of course, thank you Hashem for guiding me here, for showing me the way forward, and for reminding me that even in the dark, there's a spark waiting to be kindled. Thank you.